Alright, to start with our creating a crest, we're going to go through a few different methods on how we can create a crest and how that'll work. We're going to start by going to View, and you want to make sure your Smart Guides are turned on. I've got a check mark here, so my Smart Guides are ready to go. We also want to make sure that we have the Pathfinder panel open, our Layers panel open, and our regular tools open here on the side. Now, a simple crest to start with, we're just going to use our pen tool, and we are going to create half of a crest. When I want to create half, I will reflect the object over the top. So I'm going to start with a vertical line. While holding shift, I'm going to have that vertical line go straight down. Now that'll give us that reference right there to reflect over. And then after that, I'm just going to work through and kind of design what I think half of a crest should look like. So I'm just going to add my anchor points here and close that off. I want my crest to be a little raised, so I'm going to use my white arrow. I'm going to raise that up a little bit. And now I've got half of a crest or shield that I can work with. Change the color a little bit. So there's half. Now I use my black arrow, my selection tool, I click back on that object, and I'm going to go over to my reflect tool. And your reflect tool may be under one of the rotate or another tool, but under that part of the menu, click on the reflect tool. That object selected, I just hit enter, and I get my reflect menu. I want to make sure I copy it over a vertical axis, and then I want to make sure I hit the copy function down here, and it's copied over. I then go to my black arrow, and I drag that over while holding shift so it moves straight horizontally, and then I move it right on the line, and now I have the two halves. I'm going to select those two halves, and I'm going to go over to my Pathfinder Unite, and I am left with one shield. And I can resize that to get exactly as I want. And I've got one object as a shield. Under my Layers panel here, I can see that there's just one path for the one object in the shield. Now, I am going to take this shield and copy it in my Layers panel. I'll rename it Shield to give me a reference. I'm going to take that down, I'm going to drag it to my little plus page, and now I can see it copied twice. I'm then going to take that object, the very bottom shield, I'm just going to make that invisible for now by clicking on the eye. And my top shield, I'm now going to divide this into 4 pieces, so there's 4 separate sections of my shield. And by doing that, I'm just going to create 4 squares here. You can see this. I'm just going to drag that over, holding Option and Shift, so I make a copy directly horizontally. I'm going to select both of them, start moving it, hold Option and Shift, and I'm going to copy both of them at the same time. Now, I've got 4 squares here that I can use to divide this shield. I select those 4 squares. I'm going to bring them over right to the center of my shield, and I'm going to start increasing the size until it covers up all of my shield. I'm going to change those squares just to a fill, and then I'm going to select everything. Now, under my Layers panel, I can see I selected my 4 rectangles or squares that I created, and then one of my shields. And since the bottom shield I made it invisible, it's not selected. So now I can go to my divide function, and it's now divided that into all the different pieces. This is now 8 separate pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8. I'm going to take my white arrow, and I'm going to delete all of the pieces that I do not need. Now I have 4 pieces. You can see I can go in and I could change the color of those pieces. Using my eyedropper, I'll just select the same color. So I have a shield here with 4 different squares. It's in one group, And then I have the original shield that I made invisible. I'm going to make that group of shield in the 4 pieces invisible, and I'm going to make my original shield back to visible. Select that shield, and I'm going to put a stroke in black and increase the size. So I have a stroke on there. Now, when I go back and make my divided shield pieces visible, you can see they fit in, and they now have a stroke, or a strokes around the shield. I could even add a stroke if I want more separation between those 4 pieces. I could come in and give those a division as well. So now I've created a simple shield using my pen tool, the Pathfinder, and my layers panel there. So just a shield to start with. That's a good form. You can also use the same technique. I'm just going to grab that, group that all together, move it off my artboard. You could do the same technique with if you wanted to make a circle crest. So I can make a circle holding shift to keep it perfectly circular. I'm going to take my stroke off of that. So now I have a circle to start with for here. Same technique. I can come in and I'm going to make 4 squares. And you could use any shapes you wanted to divide this. I'm just choosing to do those squares. I'm going to change the stroke for something I can see. I'm going to drag that right to the center of my circle, and it should jump right to the center of that circle since we have the smart guides turned on. I'm going to increase the size of those squares till it covers up my entire circle. Put just a fill on. I'm going to select that. So you can see under my layers panel, I have all 4 of the squares selected and my ellipse. Divide, and I can delete all of the excess that I do not need. I'm going to hit shift and select both of those sections, and I can start now and change the color of that. I could come in and I can add a stroke to that, and I have divided out another crest shape if I wanted to use a circle. Now, from here, there's a lot of techniques. You can keep editing. You can work, in different images in each section, but that is a brief overview of how to create a divided shield 4 ways.